It's important to have keywords because it provides context for the users that are clicking on those links on this external website. But you do it only if it's relevant. If it's relevant, if you think it's gonna be good for the user, if it's not natural to put like the keyword on that link, don't do it. To Google, it's very important the experience users have when they are visiting websites, which is why it sort of incorporated this new section and some metrics to try to measure page experience. Core Web Vitals are metrics that Google introduced to try to measure things like loading times, responsiveness, the stability of these pages or your web pages.
Welcome and thank you all for joining us for another Justia webinar. My name is Nina and I'll be the moderator for today. Now, to kick things off, I want to introduce our speaker, Gustavo Montes. Gustavo is the Director of Search Engine Optimization at Justia. He has leadership and operating responsibility for all SEO efforts in the company. With over 2 decades of technical and senior leadership experience in the IT industry, Gustavo's expertise and sharp analytical vision have been instrumental in maximizing the value proposition of Justia's marketing solutions. The webinar presentation that you're about to watch will be approximately 1 hour, and Gustavo will be joining us live to take audience questions once the presentation is complete. If you have any questions that come up that you'd like to ask him as you're watching the presentation, please feel free to submit them through that Q&A button at the control panel at the bottom of your screen. Now, without further ado, here is Gus to discuss Google Search Console for Lawyers, the secret weapon you didn't know you had.
Thank you, Rina, and thanks to everyone who are joining me for this webinar. I'm going to be talking today about Google Search Console. Maybe some of you have heard about this tool. It's a great tool to add to your arsenal to review your website, see how it's performing on Google. And this tool is all about Google search engine, right? It's not about like traffic from Bing or any other places. It's specifically about your website on Google search engine and specifically organic traffic. All right, let's start. So I'm gonna be dividing this presentation, into these 4 items. The intro right now, this is what we're doing. So we'll do the intro, then we'll talk about links to your website, basically what Google sees in terms of links for your website. Then we'll get into your website on Google, so information on how your website is performing on Google. And at the end, we'll go through some troubleshooting issues, like different reports that you can use to find problems in your website. Okay, so this is the initial screen on Search Console. So this is not a new tool. It has been around for a while. Like Google introduced this tool in 2006 under the name of Google Webmaster Tools. And it was until 2015 when it rebranded it to Google Search Console, and that's the name ever since. So this is a great tool. You'll get information about indexation, like how your website is indexed and your pages are indexed on Google, performance, like the number of clicks that your website is getting on Google, the queries that users are using when they find your website, links, problems with the schema markup, and a number of other things. Now, I will not go over setting it up because that in itself can take some time. But there's a lot of information. There's a lot of resources that you can find online. That it's fairly easy to set up. If you already have like Google Analytics on your website and you have like edit access, you should be able to verify Google Search Console on your website. And if you have your website provider, someone helping you with this, you can just ask them to set it up, and chances are they already have it set up for you. In that case, just ask them to grant you access to the tool. All right, let's dive into this. Okay, so links to your website. Now, I'm gonna go through this specific item first. It's not like the most important sections on Search Console, but it is one of the most interesting. And I know a lot of people are fixated on knowing where I'm being linked from, what websites are linking to me. So let's talk about that first. And all right, so this is how it looks. Search Console. This is the screen for the links. You can find them on the navigation right here. Towards the bottom, you'll see the option that says links. And basically, Google will show you like two different sections. The one on the left is about external links. So you'll see different tables on this section, all about links coming from external websites to your site. Right? In this case, you'll find Google will show you these are the external links that I see for your website. They show you a number. And then on the right side, you'll see information about internal links. And again, they'll show you how many internal links in Google found for your different pages. Now, internal links is all about the cross links among the pages within your website. Okay, Google also, as Google crawls and reads all of the pages, Google analyzes all of the links among each other. So that's what this is about. Okay, I'm gonna show you. This is the full screen, so you can see all of the reports. I know it's a bit tiny, but I'll get into each one of them and we'll sort of zoom into each of these. Okay, let's start with the external links. So again, I think this is the most interesting one. So there's different ways to get the links, the backlinks or external links to your website. People use like SEMrush or Ahrefs. There are different tools that provide some of that information, but this is coming from Google, right? So this is pretty good information. So I would recommend use this as your sort of the first source of information for links. Of course, you can always complement using some other tools. Google Search Console will not show you like 100% of the information in terms of links, but what they show you is relevant. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the different tables within the external links. I'll start with this one in the middle. All right, here, let me zoom into this. All right, this is the top linking sites. Only because this is I think this is the one that you will be using the most, like trying to understand which websites are linking to my site. Right now, you see some like placeholder values that I put, but here's where you'll find your yellow pages or different lawyer directories, or you are checking your website and then you have an external blog that links over to your site. So you'll see the external blog here because again, that's also providing links to your site. Okay. Now, one of the things that you can do within these particular reports is you can actually drill into each one of these external sources to get additional insight. So for example, I'm highlighting external site 4. We can pretend this is yellow pages, right? So you click on it, and then as you click on it, you'll drill into this new report. Now you can see all of the links going to your website coming from external site 4, okay? And you can see that Google shows you that it found close to 4,000 links coming from this external website over to your site. And these links are distributed among 10 different pages, okay? And Google is actually showing you those 10 pages that are receiving all of these links, okay? And now from here, you can even drill further, right? You can click on the first one. I think it's office locations. And now you get this report, and then you'll see, okay, these are all of the links going to my office location URL coming from external site 4. And here you can look at the URLs in the table below, and those are the pages within external site 4 linking to the office location page. So you can do that with the different reports. You can drill into things to filter out the information to get a better understanding on the external link that you are getting to your website. Okay. All right, now I want to talk about top linking text. So for top linking text, and you zoom in. Okay, this is the text. This is the text that is used on the links on these external websites. So you'll see, like, for example, there's a lot of links on external websites are using the word website when they link to you, right? Or view website. But again, this is a very common text that if you have a profile on a lawyer directory and somebody opens that profile, it's very common to see that web link that says website. All right. So that's the actual text being used for the link. And is what you see in this report. And there are some like here, you can see that other links are using the name of the firm or a specific like practice, like criminal law. Now, the reason this is important and why Google has this report in Search Console is that the anchor, that's the text, that's the name of the text that's used on the links. It provides Google context about your pages, right? So Google is able to see, all right, all of these links are pointing to this website, and I see they're pointing like to the homepage with the word criminal, like many of them. Well, that means that the homepage is probably optimized for the criminal topic. Like again, it just provides Google some context to understand the optimization of your pages, which is again that's useful. Something to note here: this is where a lot of I see a lot of lawyers get caught up on adding keywords into the links, the external links, and I've seen cases where people just overdo it and they want to go out to any external link that they can find and they can actually control and modify it. So they can have, I don't know, Chicago criminal lawyer, and then I have thousands of links with that same query or keyword in them. And that can be problematic, right? So again, it's important to have keywords because it provides context for the users that are clicking on those links on these external websites. But you do it only if it's relevant. If it's relevant, if you think it's going to be good for the user. If it's not natural to put like the keyword on that link, don't do it, right? So that's something to note. We actually did a webinar on link building and citations and all of that, where you can actually learn a little bit more about the use of anchor text, and we go through some of the best practices, and because it's not only the text in the link that matters, it's also the information around that link on those external sites that also matter for Google. So again, if you have time, go and watch that video that we did on that. It's really good information. All right, so that's the top linking text. All right, and finally, I'm gonna talk about the top link pages. Right here, this is the one. This is just these are just the pages that are getting the most links from these external websites, right? Normally, at least for law firm websites, you see the homepage is the one that gets the majority of the links. But it's also they will also go to the attorney profile or to the top practice areas. So again, just something to note that you can get that information here. If you have an important page for you and you see that it has no links from anywhere, that's sort of an opportunity to see what you can maybe do on this. Maybe on your directory profile, you go there and then you make sure that you have that listed on that particular profile, so that now you get a link to this important page, right? But again, you don't want to overdo it. Just everything needs to be natural. It needs to be good in context and in a way that's good for the user. But again, it's something that Google does pay attention to. All right. So that's for the links. As I mentioned, Google is not gonna give you 100% of the information. So if you don't find a particular link in the list, it doesn't mean that Google is not did not read that link, right? It just means that maybe it's not in a report yet. Okay, so now I'll talk now about this other section on the right, which is the internal links. And as I said, this is just the links among the pages within your website, right? This is how it looks. And again, your homepage is going to be cross-linking to maybe, all of the pages, all of the top practice area pages, to the sitemap, and then your car accident page is going to link to maybe the read and collision and all of these subpages. So Google is reading all of that information and is going to give you the list of all of your pages. And it's going to tell you, right, this page, I found this many links from your other pages. So that's what this information is about. And basically here, again, Google also uses that information to understand your website. So it's important that you, again, if you have important pages and there's no link going to that page, it would be good to go to some of your other pages and just link up to that particular page. That's one of the reasons why, like in Justia websites, we always have a sitemap. So, we have this one page that links to every single page. We have like the breadcrumbs that, again, it just links among different relevant related pages. Okay, so that's something important to have on your website. Okay, so that's links to your website. That's information. That's what you get from Google in terms of the links. All right, now we can move on to the information of your website on Google. Okay, and I'm gonna start with the overview. Okay, this is the overview, and basically, right here, basically this is just a consolidated look at your site's metrics. And here you just want to pay attention to any drastic changes or negative trends. Keep an eye for indexing issues that you may have, or any issue with the schema. So again, this is just sort of this entry point where Google is showing you different things that it's sort of measuring for your website. All right, so this is the full view of the report. So you can see everything that's listed. I know it's tiny, but I'll zoom into each of these. Okay, so the first one is the performance report, and this is just an overview of the number of clicks that your website got over a period of time. Okay, and each of these reports, you can actually open the report and go to the actual full report. This is just an overview. I'm not gonna do that here because I will get to those reports later in the webinar. But again, this is just the number of clicks for the website. The next one is the indexing report, and here you'll find the number of indexed pages on your website versus the not indexed pages. Right. So what's important is that everything's steady, that all of your pages are indexed. If you see sort of a sharp drop, that means that there's probably a technical problem that's preventing Google from indexing your pages. Also, you'll find, for example, in this on this page or this report, you'll see that the number of not indexed pages is higher than the indexed pages. But that doesn't mean that the actual pages on the website are not on Google, and I'll explain a bit more about that later. Okay, so the next one is the experience report, and here Google is going to show you a section for core web vitals. For web vitals, you'll see the mobile and the desktop, and it's going to show you the HTTPS report. And core web vitals is just sort of the metrics that Google uses to make sure that the websites or the pages load fast and responsive. So on this one, just make sure everything is green. If you have a few URLs that maybe need improvement, not the end of the world. I'll get into that more in the particular report about core web vitals. And for HTTPS, same thing. It's just important that you have all of your pages and you serve all of your pages through a secure channel. So again, this is just a must-have for any website nowadays. Okay. And the last one is the enhancements. The enhancement reports. Here you'll find the AMP section. Again, if you are using AMP for your website, make sure everything is working fine. You have no errors. And then you will also see other sections for the different rich structured data for the different schema markup elements that you have on your website. For law firm website, you normally will see like breadcrumb schema, FAQs, reviews. These are common types of schema markup added to law firm websites. And again, just want to make sure everything is fine. If there's a problem, you can export that here and talk to your website provider to get it fixed. Okay. Okay, so that's for the overview. Now I'm going to talk about the URL inspection tool. This is the second option here in the menu. And well, as its name implies, this is a tool basically to just analyze and inspect a particular page on your website, right? And you inspect a URL one at a time. So that's how this works. And basically, with this tool, you are able to get information about your page based on the last time Google crawled this page, right? Google will show you like if it found issues with it, if Google had problems indexing or reading the page, you'll find some of those issues using this particular tool. I'm going to give you some scenarios. For example, let's say that you have a page, the page was ranking fine on your website, and you made a change to the page, and then it just disappeared. And now it's nowhere to be found on Google. I'm not saying that it's on page 10. I'm saying it really isn't on Google anymore. And this is a tool that you can use to troubleshoot whether Google had problems reading the page. And that may happen. Maybe there was a change, something, a change the configuration of this particular page, and Google can no longer read the page or can no longer index the page. So this is a tool you'll use for that. All right, so the way that works, there is a text box at the top in Google Search Console. And basically there you're gonna type in the URL that you wanna inspect, click enter, and then you'll get the actual information of the page that Google has. And again, just to stress that part, this is based on the last time Google read this page, the last time Google crawled the page, which again could have been maybe a week ago, right? So Google is not indexing every day. So just something to keep in mind. All right, I want to expand this so you can see it better. Okay, right here. Okay. Of course, you want to make sure that if it's an important page that you want to have on Google, and you want this page to be ranking, everything should be green. I'm gonna go through the different sections here. So the first one says view crawl page. This option is so that you can see the actual source code of this page when Google crawled it. If you click on it, what's going to happen is going to open this panel on the right side, and you'll see the actual source code, and you can inspect that part. Now, more important is this option. I think is one that you may use more often. This is an option to request indexing from Google, right? So basically, let's say that you have this one page, and you need to make an update because it has outdated information. So you can go to your website, update the page, and then come here and do request indexing so that Google reads the page sooner, right? It doesn't happen immediately, but it sort of gets added to this sort of priority queue for Google to get to the page sooner. Right? This is something that, again, that really matters. All right, the next section is the page indexing. Again, this just make sure is green. This part in particular is important because if you have problems in page indexing, it means that most likely Google had issues reading the page, and maybe the page is not going to be on Google, and nobody's going to be finding that page when they search. So just make sure that is in the green. Google will show information on how we discovered this page, and it's gonna tell you that that it was successful when reading and indexing the page. So things of that nature is what you see on this section. After that, you'll find at the bottom sort of experience and enhancement information. And here you'll find AMP. So if this page has AMP, you'll have this particular section. You have HTTPS, so meaning Google will tell you whether this particular page that you're reviewing, if it was served to Google through a secure channel, right? Which again is something very important for your website. And then after those two, you'll find information related to the schema markup that you have on that page. Like, this page has breadcrumbs. If it has reviews or any other type of schema, you'll find that here, and Google will tell you whether it had any issues or not reviewing it. Okay. All right. So one more option I want to show you is Google has this particular button that says test live URL. And this option basically just forces Google to read this specific URL that you're inspecting on that moment. Like on the moment that you click the button, Google goes to the page, it starts reading the page, and then it gives you this similar assessment and will tell you if there's a problem with AMP, if there's a problem with the indexation, there's a problem with the schema. And one of the scenarios where, on how you could use this is that when you are inspecting this page, and then as I said, the information, when you're inspecting, the information Google provides is from the last time that Google read the page. And maybe you found a problem in the schema, and Google had a cross and said, you know what, I had issues reading the breadcrumb schema, right? You talk to your website provider, they fix it, and they publish the page live. You can come here and do a test live URL just to test the fix that was just published. And if Google comes back and tells you that the breadcrumb schema is fine, it means that the fix is going to work. The fix is fine. And next time Google crawls the page, now this problem is going to go away. And from here, you can actually go and click on the request indexing option that I just mentioned to sort of ask Google to update the page again. Okay, so that's for the URL inspection. Okay, so now let's talk about the performance reports. I'm going to focus specifically on the search results. I think that's really the one that's most relevant for law firm websites. And okay, so here's the option. And basically here on this report, you can get insights to your website's traffic, the impressions. You'll find the different queries people use to find your website, information about the pages, the average position, meaning the ranking on Google. There's a lot of good information on this report. Okay, so I'm going to show you the different parts of this report. Here is sort of the different filters that you can find in this report. I'm going to zoom in. Okay, and the first one here is the search type, right here. So the search type, if you click on that, you'll find these are the different options. You have web, image, video. Here, focus on web. If you're going to be checking the performance of your website, focus on web, because that's really the one that's relevant to you. People is not going to do an image search on Google to find legal assistance. Okay, so web is the one you should focus on. And let's see. Okay, now the next filter is the time frame. And basically here, the default is 3 months, but you can see all of these different filters. And that will just update the graph and the values for that specific time frame. My recommendation is open it up to 16 months, only because it provides additional context, right? I mean, traffic fluctuates all the time. And, it's very common that, this 1 week was a slightly lower in traffic than the previous week. But that doesn't mean that there's a problem with a website. You may open it up to the last 16 months, and then you see the trend over time and realize, I don't. over time, I mean, a trend is positive. So it just gives you more information. And if you just want to look at, let's say, the last month or 3 months, even if you do these 16 months, you can still focus on that last part too. Okay. And there are some other filters here that I wanted to show you. So we have queries. You can filter by the queries people are using when they search on Google and your website comes up. You can filter for a specific page, for a specific country. Like, let's say that you do immigration and you have some traffic that's coming from different countries. Well, you can go to this particular setting or filter and say, you show me from USA or maybe for this other country where I get maybe I get some clients from that place. You can also filter by like the search appearance, which is how your website rank on Google. Was it the AMP page? Did it have like a rich snippet? So again, there are just different ways to filter this data. Okay. All right. So now I would like to go over the specific graphic and the actual the information in the report. So there are different metrics. There are different metrics that you can go over here. So the first one that's right now that's enabled is clicks. And again, this is just the clicks, the clicks to your website, right? So, but you can go and enable some other, like you can say now, let me enable impressions. And then you click and then enable impressions. And now you have the impressions in the graph. And even in the table below, you can see on the right side, it added a new column with the information for impressions. Okay. You can do average click-through rate. You enable, and then you can see how it starts adding on top of the graphic and the table the different metrics, and average position too. So this is the average position in terms of rankings of your website as a whole. Now, the most important ones are like clicks and impressions. I think number one is clicks, because clicks is people actually clicking on your site and visiting your website. Okay. Impressions means that somebody did a search on Google, your website came up, but that's it. It just came up, right? It doesn't mean that that he clicked on it, right? So impression is just coming up on the results, which is why it's a much higher number. But for talking about like average position, like the average position for your website is not very useful, right? Because average position can fluctuate for a number of reasons. Like for example, maybe your website, you add new pages to your site. Those new pages start to rank for new keywords that for which you were not ranking before, because again, this is just a new set of pages that you added. But when you start ranking for new keywords, often you start ranking not very well. You may be ranking on page 3 or page 5. And because of that skews the average position for your entire website. Now you are better off because you started to rank for new keywords that were not there. But because they're not ranking well yet, this average position again will it will show that there was a decrease, right? So again, just something to keep in mind. And it's the same with the click-through rate. So again, it's impacted by like average position too. And sometimes if it decreases, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad, right? It would be more meaningful if you say, I'm going to check the average position or click-through rate for this specific query. And then you can just say, I'm going to just check my information for this very specific query that Google is using or that users are using to find me. And that could be more meaningful for average position. All right. Okay, so again, focus on clicks and impressions, which I think that are the most important. Another thing that's really good about this report is you have these different tabs on the table, and you have the first one that's the queries, and this is just the queries that people are using when your website came up. on Google, right? You see that here, and then you can get the number of clicks or impressions for each of these queries. Now, keep in mind, these queries are there because these queries are related to the content that you have on your website, right? If you have a criminal website, so chances are that your queries are going to have those words like a criminal defense lawyer or something like that. Okay, it's not gonna you're not gonna see personal injury, right? Because you do not have the pages for that, and you don't have optimization for that, right? Because again, that comes with the pages and the content. But at the same time, maybe you do criminal, and if you do not have a section for drug crimes, you are not gonna see keywords for drug crimes there, right? Because your website doesn't have that content; it's not optimized for that. So just keep in mind that this is related to what you have on your site. All right, here now you have pages, and again, this is just the list of pages on your website, and you'll see the metrics now organized based on the pages that you have, and then after that you'll find like you have countries, devices. So and again, that's really what you see. You do countries, now you see the countries and you see the breakdown. Devices, you'll find like mobile device, desktop, tablet. So again, I'm not gonna go through each one of these tabs, but again, that's how is the information is organized on this report. Okay. All right. So now I want to move on to the page experience report. Okay. So right here, this is the report. And I'm going to expand it so you can see it better. Okay. Okay. So to Google, it's very important the experience users have when they are visiting websites, which is why it sort of incorporated this new section and some metrics to try to measure page experience. This particular report is going to be divided on two areas. The first one is core web vitals that you see on the left side, and you see within core web vitals you see the mobile, you see desktop, and you just want to make sure that it's in the green for the most part. Not the end of the world. There are a few URLs that need improvement. But you just for the most part make sure that everything looks fine. And the part on the right is the HTTPS, and again that just making sure that your pages are served through a secure channel. So that's something that all websites should have. If you don't, make sure that your website provider sets it up for you. And as I said, these metrics are associated with aspects that impact the user experience of your site. Okay. Core Web Vitals. So Core Web Vitals are metrics that Google introduced to try to measure things like loading times, responsiveness, the stability of these pages or of your web pages when users open them on their end. And HTTPS is related to, again, as I said, making sure you are using a secure channel to serve your pages to your users. Okay. So now I'm going to show you the Core Web Vitals report right here. Okay. So the Core Web Vitals report here, you just need to make sure that everything, for the most part, is in the green. As I mentioned, not a big deal if there's a few that need some improvement. Something to keep in mind here too is that not every single URL might be listed, and that's because Google relies on user information, like information from users actually going to your pages, right? And not every page has a lot of traffic, right? So only the ones for which Google has enough information is what you're going to see these in these reports. Okay. Now for you have mobile and desktop, but you want to focus on mobile because that is the one that Google is using for ranking purposes. But that's really, I mean, of course, you want a great user experience for both mobile and desktop, but for ranking purposes, mobile devices, the metrics on the mobile version is really what matters. Okay. Here I just open that I just zoom into that report. This is what you see. And then you can actually open this particular report and you get this view. If you see, it's pretty much the same information, just visualized in a different way. Now in this case, everything is green. Now we do use AMP for our clients' mobile websites, and that helps in terms of these specific metrics. So it does something you can do on your end, for at least for your mobile website. Do so, because it provides different benefits. All right. Now I do want to show you like an example with errors. So I was able to find this next one doing some Google searches. And this is how it looks. This is how it looks when you see errors, right? So it's the same screen that I showed you in the previous one. But now here you can see that some need improvement. Some were marked as poor at some point, and then they were fixed. And some others are in the green. And then in the part below, you'll find additional details on the actual problems that Google identify. Now, I think this is sort of quite technical, but if you find issues, just make sure that you talk to your web developer, to your website provider, to just discuss and see what needs to be done. As I said, if one is not in its improvement, sometimes there's a reason for that, right? Maybe there is this one page, and then you need to put this big image because it's an infographic and you want it displayed. And just because it's this big image, it just takes more time to load for the users. But again, there could be a reason for that, and it's not the end of the world. So just keep that in mind. Okay. And after the core web vitals, the second part, the other part to the page experience section is the HTTPS. And as I said, just make sure it's in the green. If you have any in red, talk to your developers. At this point, no website should have or should lack that HTTPS component, that secure component. Okay, right here. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the enhancements report. And for enhancements report, see right here. Okay, and then for enhancement report, the first one is AMP. Again, this is if your website is using AMP, so make sure everything is fine. I mentioned some of the benefits. Again, it's just that when implemented properly, AMP can be great to provide like fast loading websites, responsive websites, and websites that are stable when the users visit them. And part of that, or why AMP pages load really fast, is because Google preloads the AMP pages while the user is doing the search. Like for example, if a user goes to Google and the user does a search for criminal lawyer, and then they get the results, even before they click on a website, those websites that are ranking with AMP are already loading on the background. So by the time the user clicks on that particular website, the website loads instantly. So again, that's a great user experience. It makes Google look good. It makes your website look good. So again, that's just something to keep in mind. If it's possible for you and your website provider can do it, set it up. If not, again, AMP is not a ranking factor, but Google does have this section that says AMP. So I think we can say that at least Google pays attention to that. Okay. So now let's go to the next one, which is breadcrumbs. After the AMP, you'll find reports for the different schema markup that you have on your website. So like we have the breadcrumbs, and here, if there's any problem, saying you'll see in red, you'll find at the bottom, you'll find what the problem is, and just bring it up with your website provider so he takes a look at it. You want to make sure that everything is in the green here, and then you'll find the different reports depending on the types of schema markup implemented on your website. All right. So if you have breadcrumb, is going to be there. If you have like FAQs or reviews, again, it really depends on what you have on your site. So you'll find a different one. These FAQs, and this is the review snippets. They all show the same way. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about the troubleshooting issues. And again, this is just report that you can use for troubleshooting problems on your website. Okay. I'm gonna start with the indexing section. So I'm gonna go over the page indexing right here, page indexing report. Okay. Okay. So here, basically, you're gonna see which pages are indexed on Google, right? Which of the pages on your website, or how many of them are indexed on Google, and how many Google found that are not indexed. Okay. And again, for example, this particular website, it all of the pages are indexed. So this particular website has like 1,300 pages or so. All of them are indexed, which is why it shows on green. But Google found a number of other URLs that are meant not to be indexed, right? And which is why you'll see a number on the not indexed pages. Again, I'll provide some additional examples on that too. Okay. Here, keep an eye on certain changes, right? If everything is in the green, everything is indexed. If there's a change, maybe you did an upgrade on your website, you moved providers, or you made this big overhaul of a particular section. Errors can happen, right? And maybe you start losing some of the pages indexed, and then that you will see on this report. You'll see sort of a decrease over time. So just keep an eye for any changes, any drastic changes, or any negative trends. That's really what's important. Okay, and this option here is basically to view all of the index pages that Google has. So if you click here, it's gonna open the report for index pages, and these are basically, this is just focused on the index pages, and on the table that you see below the graph, that is the list of index pages that Google has for your website. If you have most law firm websites are not super big, maybe less than 100 pages, you will be able to come here and see all of the pages, like the full list of pages that Google has indexed of your website. If you happen to have 2,000 pages, this list, Google will show you the number. So the number will say that 2,000 number, but the actual table with the list of pages, it has a limit to just 1,000 rows. So Google will only show 1,000 rows on the list. Just something to keep in mind. Okay. Okay. See, that's what I was mentioning. So there's a limit for the number of index pages listed. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to show you the list of these lists at the bottom are the list of reasons why pages are not indexed. All right. I'm expanded. All right. And again, these are the different reasons. Google will tell you the different reasons why pages are not indexed. And for this one, you just need to make sure, you focus most of the time, you just focus on the not found, on the 404s. And this is basically, maybe you have broken links on your website. Maybe you misspell a link and, it's just wrong, right? It's just pointing to an invalid page. So that's reported as a 404, as a not found. Or maybe somebody on a directory or an external website is linking to one particular page of your site, and maybe you are no longer doing that type of case, right? So that's a 404. That's what is going to be listed under 404s. If you see some links that may be misspelled, and Google will tell you where Google found those sort of problematic URLs. You can use this report to sort of locate that and just fix those links. The rest of the errors here are, again, they can be used to troubleshoot and surface some technical issues impacting your site. And you see those are sort of big numbers, right? So the first one, it says alternate page with proper canonical, right? That's a big number of pages. Well, for websites that have AMP, all of the AMP pages are reported under this category. So even though the AMP page is working, the AMP page is served to the users that are using the mobile device, they are just reported under this particular category. So again, that's what I meant, what I was saying. Even though it shows us as page not indexed, many times it's meant to be that way and is a non-issue. So anyway, keep an eye for any drastic changes here too. If there are like a negative trend in terms of the indexation, now you find more pages that are not indexed, and something to discuss with your web provider to see if this is an issue or not. So you don't need to make sure that what's here is meant to be this way or not. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to the section to add sitemap. Okay, and I'm gonna zoom in so you can see that. Sitemap, this is sort of part of the normal configuration of any website. You should have a sitemap on your law firm website under Search Console. It allows Google to discover all of the pages of your website. So it's a very important component to have. So here, basically, this is how you submit it, right? So just go to the textbooks and just put the name of your sitemap. The sitemap needs to be hosted on your website. And then you just click submit, and that's it. So just make sure your website has a sitemap in XML format and that it's submitted through Google Search Console. Also, something that's important is make sure the sitemap is in sync with your website, so that this is not only done by your CMS, whether it's WordPress or whatever you're using. Anytime a page is added, a page is deleted, make sure the sitemap reflects that, so that Google always has like sort of the latest picture of your site. Okay, so the next one is removals. Okay, so for removals, I'm gonna go to this temporary removals option. And right here. So temporary removal option, this is basically a tool that is used to remove a URL from Google. Okay, so for example, I'm going to show you one scenario. So let's say that you have your website and you have this particular practice area page that's ranking on Google. And let's say that you decided to stop using or stop handling those type of cases, right? So you just want to get rid of that page, remove it immediately from Google search, because you're getting a lot of calls and you just don't want them, right? So you can use this temporary remove URL section. You can say, I'm going to remove just this particular URL, and then you enter the URL that you want to remove, and then you click next. And then basically what that's going to do is going to remove it from the actual search result from Google. Okay, it doesn't happen immediately, but it's pretty quick, right? So again, there are scenarios where you do want to remove specific pages, or maybe there's a page that's problematic, has some information that's inaccurate, and it's no longer applicable, so you just need it gone. Okay, you can go use this particular feature to remove it. Okay, the next one is the clear cache URL. That's another option. So the way this works is that, let's say that you have one page that's ranking on Google, and maybe this particular page has the wrong phone number. Okay, it's the wrong phone number. Maybe it's the phone number of an attorney and that is no longer working for you. You need this particular phone number like removed immediately, but you don't want to remove the page because maybe this is a good page that's ranking well, that's driving traffic, You just want this particular the phone number gone. So what you can do is you can use this clear cache URL option. You can just specify the URL that you wanna for which you wanna clear the cache. Enter the URL, and basically what this is gonna do is just gonna clear that particular snippet below the URL. So the URL remains, but the snippet is gone. And of course, you need to make sure that you update the page so that phone number is no longer there, that it's the correct number. And then you can also go and use the inspect tool to request indexation of the page so that it gets updated as soon as possible. But this clearing the snippet, clearing this portion, it works pretty fast. And sometimes you do want to take that action. You want to remove something quick for whatever reason. Okay. All right. Now let's move to manual actions. Okay. There's another important section. So manual action, these are just actions or like penalties that Google sort of issues to websites after a human reviewer at Google has determined that you have pages on your website that are not compliant with Google's like spam policies, for example, when there's a problem. Okay. In this case, this is fine. So I found an example online. Here's one. This is a manual action, and in this case, it says there's some user generated spam. This is one type of manual action. There's a lot of different types of actions, manual actions from Google. Maybe unnatural links. If you are going crazy, getting external backlinks with keywords from all of these different sources, you used to get manual actions like often. Now it doesn't happen as often. Now Google just sort of discounts the value of those links. But if you go to this extent that is really bad, chances are you can get a manual action. And what that does is gonna remove your website from Google completely. It can either remove your website completely from Google search, or maybe some portions of your website. So it's a really bad. It's really bad to get one of these manual actions. You need to fix it. When this happens, you need to fix it. Google normally gives you some pointers on what Google identifies as problematic. And once you fix it, you need to go to to request a review, and then you need to wait, and that can take some time. So again, you don't want to you don't want to engage on some of these practices that can get you a manual action, because it can take time for a website to recover from it. Okay. And the last one here is the security issues. Okay. And again, in this case, everything is fine, but the security issues could be that the content, your website is hacked, right? There was a problem with your website, and Google will notify you of that. I'm going to show you an example that I found too. Here, there's one with malware, another one with hacked. So you got hacked, maybe you have a blog and you are accepting comments from users on your blog, and you're allowing users to enter anything they want, and they can inject some problematic, things on there. And again, there could be some issues with allowing people to post information on your website. Or it can be too that you are linking from your site to these really shady places, right? So that are, have a lot of viruses and malware. So that can also get your website, you can have a security issue because of that. And when that happens, Google will normally flag your website when it ranks on Google. It's gonna just to sort of alert users that your website appears to be hacked or to have security issues. So again, something to keep an eye on and act very quickly if you have one of these problems. Okay, that was the last report that I was gonna go over. Pretty much, we went through like the majority of them, the most important ones. Some final points. Keep an eye again. If you're gonna be monitoring your website, keep an eye on things. It's hard to go through every single report, so at least keep an eye on the overview report. Again, it just gives you this consolidated view of the different metrics. And just make sure that you have no issues with indexation, like indexing issues or performance issues. Again, just keep an eye on that. You don't want to see like sharp drops in the different graphics or negative or sustained negative trends on some of those. If that happens, discuss with your website provider just to take the appropriate actions. Monitor the emails that you're getting from Google Search Console, because Google sends a lot of different information. And if they send you a manual action, they will send an email notifying. Same for security issue. And even with like, you can get like monthly emails or weekly emails. So again, you get a lot of information from Google Search Console. Keep an eye on that. And of course, just see what makes sense to review and to spend your time on. But the emails is a good way to keep on top of things. And the last item is Search Console is a great place to get information about the links going to your website. Again, it's not going to show you everything, but Google will show you links for which it plays some value, right? And again, some links may not be great, but this is just information that's coming from Google. Feel free to complement that with some of the other tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush. That's fine too, but do keep an eye on Search Console, because really that's really the main source of information for your website when it comes to Google. And that's it. That's the information that I wanted to go over with you. I hope you learned something new. And thank you for attending the webinar. And I'm ready. If you have any questions for me, feel free to use the tool to send your questions.
Wonderful. We can now move on to audience questions. So just a reminder, if you do have a question that you'd like to ask Gus today, he's here with us. So you can feel free to submit that through that Q&A button in the control panel at the bottom of your screen. It looks like we already have a few questions, so we can go ahead and get started. We have some questions about some of the core terms that you used when you were kind of going over Justia itself. So they're asking, what is AMP? What are snippets, and what are breadcrumbs? If you could just review those briefly, Gus.
Absolutely. So AMP stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages. And basically, think of it it's a solution or technology that was developed to create fast loading websites. This is a technology that was spearheaded by Google. And you know how your website, you may know about HTML, that's sort of the source code of your page as well. Think of AMP as a lightweight version of HTML. Again, this is a lighter version, which makes it faster to load. But there are different benefits beyond that. So when a website uses AMP, so what happens is that Google grabs a copy of the AMP pages from that website and stores those pages on different Google servers, throughout the world, right? So we call them like the Google CDN, which is Content Delivery Network. What that does is that if somebody is on this part of the world, the server that's closer to that person is the one that's sort of delivering the pages, right? So again, that's just makes it faster. Another big one is that if your website uses AMP, when somebody goes to do a Google search, let's say that your website is ranking on the search results, even before that person clicks on your website, before that happens, your website Google's already preloading your website on the background. So by the time the person clicks on your site, it loads right away, like less than a second. It just loads the page. It's just a great user experience. It just makes Google look good. You look good with your website. So anyway, that's sort of information about and how it works and what it is. The other one was snippets, right? Okay, snippet. So snippet, we also call that a search snippet. Think of a snippet of a single search result from a Google search results page. So you go to Google, do a search, you get all of the websites ranking, all of the results. So each one of them, we call that a search snippet, and is normally comprised of the title, of the page, a link. I mean the link of the page, and then you normally see a description below. Again, that's sort of what a search snippet it is. And breadcrumb. So for breadcrumbs, breadcrumbs are just it's just a navigational links that websites normally have, and basically it allows users to know where they are located in a website. And I'm just gonna give you a quick example. You go to your website, let's say that you do PI, personal injury. Go to the homepage, then navigate to the car accident. From there, you navigate to the read and collision. In the read and collision page, you'll find at the top these breadcrumbs that is probably going to say home, and then next is going to say car accident, and then next is going to say read and collision. Again, this is just navigational links. They help cross-link pages. They help users understand where they are located on your website, and they also help Google sort of understand the structure of your website and the different what topics of pages are related. So that is what breadcrumb are.
Awesome. Thank you for defining that for us, Gus. Our next question is, how can I know which links listed on Google Search Console are good or bad?
So Google Search Console will not give you any indicator within the tool itself. I mean, you'll just get the list of the external links, and really, what you should just do sort of your own assessment of these links. When you go to a website, you have the link from this external source, and like ask yourself, is this a reputable website? Maybe it's a website you don't know, right? And it's sort of a website on the legal space, or it's a reputable lawyer directory, right? That everyone knows. So I think that's probably a good link to have. If the website is not, I mean, you don't know anything about it, the quality is bad, and many times by looking at the website itself, you can tell that this is not a good quality website, right? Or also check for some spammy signals, right? If you go to the website, there are many websites out there in directories that exist only for manipulating Google's ranking, like for get SEO value to different websites. And then you go to these directories and you see keywords all over the place. And again, normally the quality is not good. So that's probably not a good looking on a quality link, right? It's probably a bad website to be associated with. Again, Google will not give you that. It will be you sort of reading the page, navigating, understanding what you see. If you feel this is a good website for users, is valuable, this is probably a good place to have a link from.
Awesome. Thanks, Gus. We have time for a couple more questions. So the next one is, should I ask Google to re-index pages on my site every time I make changes?
No, there's really not reason to do that every time there is a change. I mean, if you are making a change that is really important, right? Maybe there's something wrong with the page, there's something outdated about the law, right? And that's probably an important update to make sure Google, indexes right away. Yeah, you can do that then. But if that's not the case, you don't have to do that, right? Also, if there are changes, to your website, let's say that it's not just one page, it may be this set of pages, or you did an important change to the whole website, and all of the pages were impacted. You can do is submit sort of a sitemap XML. If you recall when I went through that. And that also sort of pings Google to say, you know what, I made the changes, and it sort of speeds up the process of indexation. But Google has its own algorithm to understand how often to go back to websites and read the information. But normally that's pretty good. And again, if there's no urgent need for reindexation, don't go the route. Just let Google sort of read the page and go through the process. And also keep in mind that even if you ask for reindexation, doesn't mean that Google is going to do it right away, right? It can still take a few days. And on the same way, if you ask for reindexation, doesn't mean that that page is gonna sort of rank, right away. When there's a new page, it takes time to rank on Google. So again, things just take time. So normally you don't need to do that for every change that you do.
Okay, and then our next question is, when removing pages from my site, should I redirect those pages URLs to my homepage?
No, that definitely don't do that. You should never do this sort of blank redirect that for every deleted page over to the homepage. And I've seen that in the past, like some SEO people say, we need to do that because 404s are not good for a website, and there could be an impact. And that's really not the case. Google has stated that it's normal for websites to have these 404 errors. So no, don't do a redirect for every page, for every deleted page to the homepage. If you delete a page and you have another existing page on your website that relates to that same topic, that can act as sort of its replacement, then it makes sense to that the redirect to that other page, right? Because again, it's sort of related to it. So yeah, that would be the answer for that one.
Awesome. Okay, our last question for today is going to be, when or how often should I use the disavow tool to report any bad backlinks that I find?
I think that the short answer is that unless you have a manual action from Google, I mentioned about these manual actions, and one of them is related to links, right? If somebody having spammy links, there could be a manual action for that, and that could be really bad for a website. Unless you have a manual action, you don't need to go out and disavow links, and Google has even stated that. I think over the years, Google has gotten smarter on how it deals with these low quality links. And nowadays, what Google says is, they will just discount the value of those, right? So they're not, I guess, unless you take it to the extent, you take this to the extent that you are abusing sort of, this tactic of getting backlink just for SEO purposes to manipulate the rankings, and you really do these really bad and have tons of links with keywords, you can get maybe a manual action, but most of the time, Google just gonna discount those, right? So there is no need for you to disavow proactively, right? If you have a manual action. Also, another reason for that is that you may think Google is not, you may think this is not a good link. Who knows, right? Maybe it's not too bad, and maybe there's sort of a little value that you are getting from it. So do you agree? Don't know. So again, don't do it unless there's an explicit manual action about spammy backlinks from Google to your website.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Gus, for all of your insight and tips. And thank you all who asked questions. We are almost out of time for today, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. So as we discussed how best to utilize Google Search Console today for your law firm website, I wanted to remind you all, as I did at the top of our presentation today, about the services available to you through our website platform, Justia Elevate. Justia Elevate, as a reminder, is our groundbreaking WordPress-based platform designed and customized specifically for lawyers and law firms. It integrates SEO-focused features and tools, including the premium version of that Yoast SEO plugin and our newly released Justia AI content writer. So if you'd like to learn more about that, please feel free to go to elevate.justia.com. We want to thank you all for joining us for another Justia webinar. Thank you for joining, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos on law practice and legal marketing. See you in our next video.